Welcome. Today I'll be doing my 2020 first round NFL mock draft. So let's get into it. With the first pick, the Cincinnati Bengals select Joe Burrow. This is an easy pick for the Bengals. I mean, everyone knows Joe Burrow is going to win, so we can move on. Same thing, Chase Young to the Redskins. Chase Young is clearly the number 2 pick. The Redskins could trade down. I would not be surprised. I would be surprised if the Bengals traded down, but the Redskins, I definitely think there's a chance they trade down because their defensive line is the strongest core out of all the positions on that team. They need corners, safeties, a wide receiver, a running back. They really need every position more than defensive line. Arguably quarterback too. So I would not be shocked if they traded down and got a lot of assets for Chase Young. But Chase Young is definitely the number 2 pick. The Lions, their guy I think is undoubtedly Jeff Okudah to replace Darius Slay. Cornerback is probably their biggest need. Their offense is solid. They could use some offensive line help, but I think Jeff Okudah is the guy for them, and that's what I've been reading about, and the Lions are expected to get Jeff Okudah. The Giants, they definitely need some offensive line help, and I think Tristan Wirfs is the best O lineman in the draft for sure. And I think this pick just makes perfect sense for them. The Dolphins, they definitely should get a quarterback. And I think it's between Tua and Justin Herbert. And I think Tua is the guy to get. He's just a little bit better. I think he has more potential. He's riskier, but I think the upside is there. So that's what I would do if I was the Dolphins. And then here's Justin Herbert. I think he's safer than Tua, but Tua has way more upside. So if I'm the Chargers, I don't. This is a tough one because the 6th pick for Herbert I think is pretty high, but the Chargers definitely need a quarterback. They're still a good team. They just need a quarterback, and I think Herbert definitely fits in their team really well. So I think them getting him is a great fit. If they could trade down a little bit, get maybe a few picks, and still get Herbert, that'd be the best move for them. But if they had to, I don't think it's. I think this is a fine pick to get Herbert for the Chargers. Isaiah Simmons, I think this guy is one of the best players in the draft, and he's a perfect replacement for Luke Kuechly. The Panthers need also a team that needs a lot of help, but this guy is an absolute monster, and I think he's a perfect fit for this team, for any team really. But you got to pick him at number 7 if you're the Panthers. The Cardinals, so they clearly need an offensive lineman, and it's between Jedrick Wills and probably Mekhi Becton. And I would give the edge to Jedrick Wills just because his conference is so much tougher, and he played such high level of competition. I trust an Alabama offensive lineman more than any other team really. So that's what I would do if I'm the Cardinals. The Jaguars, they need a lot of help, but if Derek Brown falls to the 9th pick, I think he's clearly the best player available. I wouldn't be surprised if the Cardinals picked him instead of Jedrick Wills, but if I'm the Jaguars, you got to pick this guy. He's clearly the best player available if he falls to 9. The Browns are another team, a pretty good team, and they definitely need some offensive line help. I think Mekhi Becton is the obvious choice for them. They have a really good team. They just need an offensive lineman, and Mekhi Becton or Jedrick Wills. Whoever falls here, that's who I expect them to get. The Jets, they definitely, I've read that they definitely want a wide receiver, so I expect them to get Jerry Jeudy or CeeDee Lamb, and I'm gonna give the edge to Jerry Jeudy. I think he's the better player. I think he has more upside. I trust Alabama wide receivers a little bit more than Oklahoma wide receivers, and I mean this guy is just amazing. Like both CeeDee Lamb and Jerry Jeudy are amazing, but I would give the edge to Jerry Jeudy just a little bit. And then the Raiders get CeeDee Lamb. The Raiders are perfect fit. CeeDee Lamb for the Raiders. They have a they're building a really good team. That I expect them to, if not make the playoffs, get very close. And I think CeeDee Lamb, they they definitely need a wide receiver. This guy is perfect for them. Then the 49ers, they also a team that needs a wide receiver. I think Henry Ruggs is a pretty good fit for them. They traded DeForest Buckner for this pick, and a lot of people have them getting Javon Kinlaw with this pick, which would replace Buckner pretty well. But I'd be surprised if they trade a defensive tackle for another defensive tackle that probably won't be as good. So that doesn't really make any sense to me. So I expect them to get uh, a different position, and so that's why I think wide receiver makes sense. So Henry Ruggs is the best available. So that's why I think the 49ers will get him. The Buccaneers, an absolute great team. They have so many good players. They just added Rob Gronkowski, which is a great pickup if he obviously is still healthy and physical enough to play, which I expect he will be. But offensive line definitely is their need, and I think Andrew Thomas is. I think there's a big fall off after Andrew Thomas is drafted. So if they can get Andrew Thomas with their pick, I think that is perfect for them. And I think it's a no brainer. I don't think there's anyone else they could really pick if he's still available here. Now the first cornerback, I I think the second cornerback besides Okuda. I think the second best cornerback in the draft is Christian Fulton. The Broncos need a lot of help, but I think cornerback is their biggest need. They have AJ Boye, but they need one more corner, and I think Christian Fulton will be a really good number two corner, maybe even number one in a few years. So LSU defensive backs can so many amazing ones. So that's why I give them the edge over others. The Falcons also need a corner. They lost Desmond Trufant. They cut him. So CJ Henderson, I think a lot of people have him ranked as the second best corner. So I have him third. I mean, the Falcons could get Henderson, Trevon Diggs, Fulton, any of these corners. All of them, I think, will fit them well. All of them are really good players, so I just have them picking CJ Henderson. The Cowboys, another team that needs a corner. Byron Jones obviously signed to the Dolphins, so I would expect them to get a cornerback, and I think Trevon Diggs would be. Oh, let's move this. I think Trevon Diggs would be the best available for them if the others were drafted by now. The Dolphins, they have another pick. They have 3 picks in the first round, and they need a lot of help. They're not a very good team, but they are improving a lot from last year. And I think K'Lavon Chaisson from LSU is the best player, and I think he has a lot of upside as a pass rusher. Maybe a type of like Von Miller type of guy. I mean, I'm not saying he's going to be as good as Von Miller, obviously, but if I'm the Dolphins, I'm taking upside at this pick, and I think he has a lot of upside. The Raiders. So this is their second first round pick, and they could get a lot better in this draft. I think Javon Kinlaw is the perfect player for them at this pick. He is by far the best defensive end available, and they need some defensive end help, defensive lineman help, and he could play D tackle. He might be able to play defensive ends, but his main position will be defensive tackle, and I think that would be the pick for the Raiders if he falls. The Jaguars select Xavier McKinney, which is the first safety off of the board. I think the Jaguars' main need is safety. They also could use a corner. They could use a wide receiver. They might trade Leonard Fournette, so they could use a running back. They might trade Yannick Ngakoue, so like you never know with the Jaguars. But as of now, I think Xavier McKinney would be the best fit for them. The Eagles, definitely the Eagles should take a wide receiver in the first round. They could definitely trade up to get a CeeDee Lamb or Jerry Jeudy, but if they don't, I would draft Justin Jefferson at the 22nd pick. I think he would be the best available here over others. So LSU wide receivers usually turn out pretty well. The Vikings definitely need a cornerback. Whoever's available here, AJ Terrell. I think AJ Terrell will definitely be available here. They might be able to get one of the other ones that was already drafted. But if AJ Terrell, I mean, as a last resort, he's still a very good player. And they need a corner. They need a cornerback and a wide receiver the most. And they have 2 first round picks, so I expect them to get a corner and a wide receiver. So AJ Terrell for the Vikings. Now, this is probably my biggest shocker in the draft. Now, the Patriots, I think Jeremy Chinn will be a perfect fit for them because they love versatile players, and I don't think there's anyone as versatile as Jeremy Chinn. He can play safety, he can play linebacker, he's super fast, super tough. I think in the right scheme, he could be really good, and this just seems like a guy that the Patriots would get. The Saints, they definitely need a they definitely need a linebacker, and out of I think in my opinion, Patrick Queen is the second best linebacker behind Simmons. Obviously, they could get Kenneth Murray as well, but if I were them, I would get Patrick Queen. Now the Vikings, this is their wide receiver, T. Higgins. I think T. Higgins is just a little bit better than a guy like Denzel Mims. I just trust a Clemson wide receiver over a Baylor wide receiver. So that's why I would go with T. Higgins. I mean, he was great in college. There's no reason he shouldn't be a very good wide receiver. Now the Dolphins, their last first round pick, they need some offensive lineman help. I think Josh Jones would be the best offensive lineman available at this point. So that's why I think the Dolphins would get Josh Jones. And then the Seahawks also, they're a really good team. So their main need is offensive line. You could always use some more depth, and I have them picking Ezra Cleveland. You never know if they could trade out of this pick or something because I don't know how much he would help the Seahawks, but I mean, he could start for them. So that's why I don't feel great about this one. But that's what I'm going with. The Ravens definitely need a linebacker or maybe a safety like Grant Delpit. But I have them picking Kenneth Murray. Now they could, if Patrick Queen is still here, definitely pick him. But Kenneth Murray fits them perfectly. Perfectly. They have so many great players on that team. I think he'll fit in perfectly. The Titans, another pretty good team. I think Gross Matos. Well, he's a really good pass rusher, and that defense, they're great against the run. They're pretty good against the pass. They just need one more pass rusher. They didn't have many sacks last year. I think this guy, they're getting a really good pass rusher out of this guy. And the Packers, I think their biggest need is wide receiver. And at this point, I would say Denzel Mims is the best available. If I were the Packers, I would definitely consider trading up to CeeDee Lamb or Jared Jeudy, or even Henry Ruggs. But I don't expect that. I don't expect them to do that. So if Denzel Mims is still here, I'd pick him if I'm the Packers. And the 49ers select AJ Epinesa. They're getting their replacement for DeForest Buckner here. I think he's a really good player. He's a pretty good pass rusher. He could probably play defensive tackle if you need him to. He's kind of like DeForest Buckner. But yeah, I think he's the best defensive lineman available, and that's what I would get if I'm the 49ers. The Chiefs, they definitely need some secondary help, mainly safety. And then Grant Delpit, along with Tyrann Mathieu, I think that would be a really good duo. Two LSU guys. That would be a great pick for them. I think Grant Delpit would fit them perfectly. So that's the end of the video. Thanks for watching. Comment below if you agree with any picks, disagree, and stay safe. And I'm looking forward to the draft on Thursday. See ya.